For sure. For sure. We do want to remind you, we got a couple sponsors tonight. Let's get to those. Let's tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you have not signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now is the time. Now is the time, folks. Bet Rivers Sportsbook is offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit, but what sets them apart is that they require just one play through to turn your bonus into cash money. When you win at Bet Rivers Sportsbook, they pay fast, and now it's even faster with Rush Pay instant approval for withdrawals. It's safe, it's secure, it's reliable. With March Madness starting up this upcoming week, there's never been a better time to give Bet Rivers Sportsbook a try. You can go to betrivers.com today or download the Bet Rivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. It's Bet Rivers Sportsbook. They are our sponsor tonight. We've got two regions down. I'm John Fanta. He is Coach Tim Miles. Coach, what's up?
Hey, John, I just want to tell you, I don't have a 1-800-gambling problem. I have a 1-800-I-can't-pick-'em-right problem. I've never won a bracket thing in my life. And it's crazy. I agree. We got to hop over to that Baylor bracket, the South region, don't you think? And there, my man John Gallagher, who's an alumni of Inside the Mind of Miles, we talked to him just a couple weeks ago about the Hartford Hawks and how they were going to do it. And certainly he went through and won his conference tournament. First time in history for Hartford to make the NCAA tournament. He's been there 11 years building that thing. And for all of that hard work, for the overnight sensation of John Gallagher making the dance, here's Baylor. Thank you very little.
Yeah, certainly not exactly the reward you would like if you are Hartford, but congratulations to Coach Gallagher. To win it on their home court, too, was so cool yesterday. I watched that game. It's my favorite thing to wake up on Championship Saturday, and it's 11 a.m. tip-off in that America East final. Nothing beats it, and good for the Hartford Hawks. Really, really cool to see it. Now, here's the thing. For Baylor, in this South region, I think that they got a somewhat friendly draw. You know, Ohio State's the 2, and what we saw from Dwayne Washington today was greatness. I thought Chris Holtman coached a tremendous game to be down 17.
Yeah, you know, a lot of times when you get down like that, you know, we used to have a saying just to kind of lighten the guys up. If you're going to get down early. You got the rest of the game to catch up. And that's what happened. And a lot of times then you kind of get this loss aversion mentality for the offensive team. Of course, you get off the attack once that lead goes from 13-9, 9-5, and you're like, oh man, these guys are catching us. And it's always easier to be the hunter, right? And I think that's what you saw today. But Dwayne Washington was, what do you have, 30, how many points? And and was just amazing. And, you know, you thought they were going to be a 2 seed. I didn't think after a couple late season losses, they were going to be able to get to the 1 line. But I agree. That's Wisconsin is another team. Like we talked about Tony Bennett and Sam Hauser, that Nate Reavers not having the 3-point shooting year, Brad Davison not having the year shooting the 3-point shot. They, as a team, the last 9 games of the year, I think they won 8 or 9 of them, 8 of their last 9, I'm sorry. And I think they shot as a team 45% from the arc, and they're just not there this year, which is why they're an 8 seed. But I don't know that either of those two teams can go out there and beat Baylor. Baylor's just so strong.
Yeah, and the problem that I've had all season long with North Carolina is their backcourt is just inconsistent. You know, between Caleb Love and then Davis, it's come and go. You can have Baycott and Brooks, but I'll serve you up and say, I got to find enough guard play. And at least with Wisconsin, you know for a fact when you walk in against the Badgers that Demetric Trice is going to put his team on his back and do what he can to lead the way for Wisconsin. This could be this North Carolina-Wisconsin game, it's going to be physical. You know, I hope the refs let them play a little bit because I expect it to be just that sludge up and down where we see first to 60 wins this game.
No doubt about it. And I think that'll be a tough game. And I agree with the next one. And I think Charlie said it again. What about Villanova and Winthrop?
Yeah, what do you think?
That's a possible upset. Well, I just, when you look at Nova and the amount of injuries that they just have had since the conference tournament started, and Colin Gillespie especially, late season injuries can be the biggest devastating effect on a team. There's no question about it. I've lived it. I've seen other teams have to live it, and it's just really hard to overcome. And I'm really concerned with Villanova that way. And that should be a really good game. And Purdue, North Texas will be a whale of a game too. That will be a very, very good game.
Let me ask you this. Let's stick with this as a coach. Villanova gets bounced out in the Big East tournament on Thursday by this red-hot Georgetown team. So Villanova stayed in New York because they're quarantining, and they'll go to Indiana. You have to this year. But it does beg curiosity when you lose this game and you do have the complete weekend. Is there any blessing to potentially saying we lost our quarterfinal, empty the head? Guys, Jay Wright saying, here's what we need to do to make something of this season still. And take me through what you would have done with your team this weekend where you're not playing, but you're quarantining, and you got to figure this thing out.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would do is what you just said about getting your head clear is exactly what you have to do. You need some TLC, you need some rest, and you need some inspiration. You need to find a cause to believe in again. And you've lost your leader. You've had other injuries. And not, you got bounced from a tournament you were the 1 seed in. And so there's even the smallest things can cause a crisis of confidence. So as a coach, you need to meet with your guys, encourage them, get them redirected, get them going back in the right path, maybe accumulate a cause or two to find an edge, and say, hey, this is what we're going to have to do to get where we need to go in terms of Villanova basketball. So I sit there and say, as you meet with those guys and you talk with your team and recalibrate where we are, who are we right now? Okay, it's not quite the same. How do we figure out how to move forward from here? Redefine some roles. Might even cause some schematic changes. Maybe not. Maybe some realignments or some testing of a smaller lineup or a bigger lineup, just depending on what gives. And you've got to do some of those things. And I think that might give your guys a little extra juice.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Villanova play a Winthrop team. I'll tell you what, those Eagles, they have the makeup of a team that can win a game or two in this tournament. They've had a remarkable season. Another team that has multiple guys who can get going from beyond the arc. Any thoughts on Winthrop?
Yeah, I haven't seen them much. I didn't even see their conference game. I just know Pat Kelsey's a terrific coach. I know they can score the ball. And anytime you get a mid-major that can score at a high clip and has confidence, and Pat Kelsey's a young, aggressive, confident guy, he's got the juice, they're going to come in swinging for the fences. And
they're, I don't think people understand here. Winthrop is 23-1.
Yeah.
They're 23-1, folks.
Yeah. It's a lot of wins.
And they're going to face a Villanova team that, frankly, is battered and bruised. I mean, I'll tell you what, it really is a window of opportunity. And just taking a look at some of the things they do well, they've got a kid named DJ Burns who leads the way for them in scoring. They have a sharpshooter and a kid named Kyle Zunic who hit 3 triples in their conference title game. This team, they have multiple different pieces that can get going from beyond the arc. And on the offensive end, they score the ball really, really well. And it could be any given guy. Like in their semifinal conference tournament game, they had somebody else. It was Charles Falden, who had 19 in that game, and Chandler Vaudrin, who had 16. So what I noticed right away when you start to look at how this team's constructed, for upsets to occur, do you have more than one guy? Do you have 3 or 4 different people that can get it done? That's why I love Loyola's makeup this year, Loyola Chicago, because I see 7 guys that average between 7 and 12 points per game. That's what you need.
Well, it was like we were just alluded to earlier. I did a Wisconsin game at one point, and every guy that had played had made a 3 in the first 25, 26 minutes of the game. When you have multiple guys like that, think of VCU's run from the first 4 to the final 4. Think of, like we just talked about, all the teams that have made runs with that 3-point shooting. That weapon in itself is why they moved the line back a foot just 2 years ago. Let's not forget that. Teams have now, again, adjusted and are moving forward. And that's why I think that's a scary matchup Winthrop and Villanova.
Yeah, it is. A 7-10 game between Florida and Virginia Tech. There were some surprise to see Mike Young's team all the way down on the 10 line.
Yeah, no doubt. You talk about us being tough on the Big East, or I'm sorry, the ACC. I think the committee was too. That's another team I feel is underseeded. I think that will be an exceptional game. Florida, when you look at things, Mike White has done an outstanding job. But I think that, you look at Virginia Tech, and I say that, as you look at them, their best players were guys that were transferred from a smaller level, tough-minded, really guys. I've already, I see we've got Davy Crockett and mad at me that I was on Bogue night about not being tough enough. I just said that's what I think. Mental tough. I'm not questioning his game or his skill level or his talent, but you've got to have both. And that's what I like about Virginia Tech and Mike Young. Yeah,
they do. They do have a toughness about them. They're a team that when adversity stared them in the face, they've fought back from it in the ACC. And I got to say, Mike Young has done one of the better coaching jobs in the country because Buzz Williams gets Virginia Tech to some historic heights. They made the Sweet 16. Yep. They made the second weekend of the tournament. And I think the thought was, Virginia Tech, Mike Young's going to go from Wofford to the Hokies. I think he would win anywhere he goes, Coach.
He will. And if you've ever met Mike Young, you can see why he can recruit. He's one of the better storytellers in the world. He has got a wealth of knowledge and experiences. And what people have to understand is he's not one of these guys that played at Carolina or Duke and then coached at Carolina or Duke and then got a pretty good job. He's a guy that started at the bottom, and worked his way up. I remember even just a few years ago when his third assistant at Wofford was just making what restricted earnings coaches were making in the 90s. And it's just one of those things where he elevated Wofford to a whole new level. He can do it wherever you go. Texas Tech, Utah State, great matchup. Chris Beard, Craig Smith. That will be a whale of a game too. And you talk about, you got this physicality, defensive mind team and Chris Beard that is unbelievable, energetic. Craig Smith is over there cheering on his team the whole time. And you've got Justin Bean, you've got Miller, you've got all the different guys, especially with Nina Shiketa. It's the Anderson kid who comes off the bench for Utah State. Really going to be interesting. Joe Esposito's Joe is a tremendous guy, radio personality.
Yeah.
Prep school coach, former big-time coach at Minnesota, Texas Tech, Memphis. And he's saying Ken Pom, and I think he's saying Winthrop too low, and I agree with Joe.
I agree with him.
Ken is by trade a weatherman and a meteorologist, and it's not Ken's fault, it's his computer's fault. Never blame Ken, it's his computer. Remember, it's kenpom.com. It's not really him, it's a internet figure.
Okay, let's stay in the South. So I myself saw this, and I thought to myself, okay, Ohio State, I have them getting by Oral Roberts. I can't see them losing to Florida or Virginia Tech, although I think that Coach Young and the Hokies will give the Buckeyes a good game. I'm envisioning in my head, I've been so high on the Big 12. I can't see Texas Tech losing their first round game. I think it's a really difficult draw for Utah State. It's a tough draw because I thought Utah State could crash a party.
That's one of the better quad four type of teams in there. When you look at Tech, Utah State, Arkansas, and Colgate can shoot the crap out of it.
How about the way that game will get played? Arkansas, Colgate, get ready.
Track meet. And so I like those games are going to be fun to watch. And I think really, you'd like to think they're going to be closely contested, even though you never know. But it's different now than it ever was. The other thing that'll be interesting is, they're not playing in big arenas like 18,000 seat arenas. They're playing in some college gyms, Assembly Hall. And I believe they're playing at Purdue, right? At Mackey Arena.
Hinkle Fieldhouse.
And they're playing at some shooting environment, cool arenas, not these ice hockey arenas that can fit all the suites and everything in there. So for the higher seed schools and the smaller colleges, it's not going to be, that different of an environment to come play in. You're not going to feel like you're, the Hoosiers guys measuring the rim at 10 feet.
Let's talk about this third seed Arkansas Razorbacks team. I know that you know a thing or two about the Mussmen, who has
Sure.
who's gotten it going. Eric Musselman's done a tremendous job here. Moses Moody is their star. If you have not seen Moses Moody yet, folks, you're in for a treat this March Madness. And I don't think that this Arkansas team has gotten a ton of national attention, but they average over 82 points per game. They're a team that is going to turn you over. Nearly 16 turnovers per game they're able to rack up. And I just look at the way that they shoot the ball, around 46%. Moody, Smith, Jason Tate. They've got 4 guys in double figures. I think that they're a 3 seed. Of the 3 seeds on the bracket, I really, really am high on their ability. And I think in this bracket, where you kind of by being a 3, you avoid Baylor. If we saw an Arkansas-Ohio State game, I would be really interested to see who'd come out on top.
Yeah. Eric Musselman's done a great job with his idea from his days in the CBA, which is now the G League, of accumulating talent. And a guy that really makes them go too is the Indiana transfer, Justin Smith. When he's been out, they've struggled a little bit. When he's been in and around making plays, they've been dynamic. If we can get to that game, that 2-3 game with Arkansas and Ohio State, those are going to be some of the best games. Those Sweet 16, Elite 8 games are always some of my favorite games because everybody's playing so hard and flying around, and they're trying to get to the Final Four. Sometimes then you get to the Final Four and the games aren't quite as exciting or well played or whatever it might be as the Sweet 16 Elite 8 games. That should be, John, tremendous, tremendous basketball.